Myself, Tapas. There was an introduction. So I have been working with React since a while, and also manage and maintain an open source community called React Play, and try to teach on YouTube and various other places. So my talk today is about elegant UI update using transitions in React 18. Let's talk about priority, right? So when I ask, like, as a developer or as a human being, maybe for developer today, is like, what are the high priority items in your life? Most of the answers will be like health, relationship, career, money. But if you ask a React developer, they will tell state updates in React. I really mean it. And this is not something which is bad or wrong. This is because why React is smart, right? And that's what we are going to see with this slide, like why the priorities of, the state update is of highest priority and how transition come into picture. So let's consider the application is very simple application. There is a search box where people can type down search, and there are a list of users at the bottom. As and when you kind of type in the things in the text box, you search and filter out the user at the bottom, right? So that's a very simple app. Now, you can write the code for this app or the component for this app in various ways. The way that I could imagine writing it, and this is just a part of it. What it does basically, there are two states that we are talking about over here. The first state that manage and maintain the things that you're typing into the text box, the search term. And the next step is about filtering out the things from a mammoth user list, right? So this is what this particular component, we have written it 1,000 times as a React developer, I'm very sure about it. Now, when this state thing happened, right, when we update the state. So when we update the state means as and when there is an on-change handler on this text box and I'm typing things, I'll be changing the state of this search term, right? I'll be putting the new value over there. And taking the new value, I'll be doing some kind of filtration on the mammoth user list, and then again setting back the state so that it reflects the actual value, the filtered value into the list. It's very simple, right? So how these things happen, basically, state change. So whenever there's a state change, what do you know? Component re-renders, right? We know component re-renders. So let's think about this as a state update, this one, trying to show it visually. So by default, all the state updates are urgent, is of high priority. Why so? Because if you are saying that I'm going to re-render the component for state update, and for minute state update, which are like few milliseconds around, if you're doing the re-rendering so fast, so much, your component UI is going to re-render so fast. So React is smart. We all know that it does a batch update. And that's why what happens over here, that everything is considered like as a high priority update, and it does the re-rendering, not for every update, but rather for the batch update. So here, two states, those two blue circles are those two states, and we are saying like, okay, this is the urgent state update. So what happens, the state update happens, the color change, consider that the state update happens, and after the state updates, the component re-renders. Again, the color change at the background. So consider that as a component basically re-rendered. Now for this application, where you are dealing with a huge list, there is a problem, okay? And the problem is, like when you are searching down, when you are actually typing very fast, or you are removing things, your search term, you're editing your search term very fast, you are going to see a lag. Why this lag? Let's see it in the application, and then I'm going to explain to you while explaining it with the application itself. Okay, so this is the application, hopefully it's still visible. So the application is like, we have the same thing, we have a search box and a bunch of users at the bottom. And I can actually search these users based on any of their name parts. So I'll do like BRG, Burge, okay? Now if I try to remove this, you see, at least 3 times I have to press the back button hard, and then it's got clear, it's still actually rendering. Why it's happening? Because we are doing this component rendering, keeping in mind both the state change together, because both are of high priority, both the search term and the list that is at the bottom, right? How beautiful it will be, like if we don't give this kind of behavior to a user. I'm just having what, maybe around 500, 550 users over here. Now if the number of data is really, really huge and more, the kind of lag will be much, much more. And you cannot afford your user to have that. 5 minutes to go. Okay, so next, what we can do is like, we can make the responsiveness of the UI or the performance of the UI much better in such a way that if we can disconnect these two state updates some way. We tell React, okay, by default is great that you do all the state updates as high priority. Now I am going to tell you like which state update you should accept as non-urgent state updates. That's where we are going to talk about the transition. So let me go into the mode again. Yeah, we have seen the problem. So that's why we're going to talk about transition. So we have a brand new hook. It's not so new anymore because people have started using it. It's called use transition. So this hook, will do an anatomy of it for next 30 seconds. What it does is basically, it's a built-in React hook, that's come out of the box. So it actually gives you two valuable things. One is a Boolean value, and second is a function. Okay, first talk about the function. The function is called state transition. What this function does, so any state updates you put inside this function, in the callback that is its accept as a parameter, you put inside that, React will consider that state update as non-urgent. Okay? And as long as the state transition executes, as long as your transition executes, your is pending variable will be, it returns with the true as long as the state transition executes. So it means now you consider the same application over here. Now if I want to disconnect the state updates through transition, like the first one happens as usual, and the second one I want to put into the state transition so that React don't consider the second one as urgent as the first one, and rather do it relaxedly, and we don't have this kind of bad user experience putting in front of our customers and the users, right? So the same code, but little bit of changes here. So changes are here is like I'm using now use transition hook over here at the top. It was not there in the previous code. This part is as same as that. We don't disturb it at all. Like this state change, how we are doing is exactly same, so it's of a high priority state change. But look at this. This particular code which we used before, now we are putting inside what? We are putting it inside the callback that set transition takes as a parameter, right? I told. So use transition hook gives me a set transition function. I'm just putting into that. I'm telling React, this particular state update is not as urgent as the first one that you have declared over there. So it means that you don't have to really club them together. You don't have to go for the batch update. You don't have to go for re-rendering, considering them together. Now, so how the things are going to happen right now as these two are disconnected. So let's talk about the state update again. Two states as like before. The first one is urgent as before. So as it is urgent, it happens then, but second one is the non-urgent. The first state update happened, the color change, component change. Second one is not happened yet, right? We have not changed the color. The second one happened, and then again the component re-render. So if you have seen, the component re-rendering was really not stuck for both the state changes to happen. So it means if you have a mammoth list to filter out, your component re-rendering was really not waiting for that mammoth list filtering out feature to take place. That's why we have actually segregated the things. So things improve with transition. Let's see. So we'll go back to the same application, but we'll run it now in the transition mode. So when you run it in the transition mode, one thing that you're going to see, same user, Burge. I'm going to remove this so fast. But there one thing you saw, if there is a is loading. So I am able to handle the situation much more elegantly. So I'm not stuck while typing, while removing things on the text field. Rather, I'm giving user a proper way of indication, like, if something is coming, something is loading, the list is mammoth, we are filtering through. So have patience with the loading indicator, things like that are doing. How are you doing this loading indicator? We have that, Boolean variable that use transition hook gives, using that we are actually doing the stuff. So I hope you're with me so far. And that's it I had. I hope I have completed on time. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me here. So thank you very much for listening. So if you have further things to discuss, I am always available to discuss. Thank you.